Case Citators for the Environmental Legal Research course at Boston College Law School. Citators are research systems that operate mechanically on the citations found in legal documents. They provide references to related documents as well as documents that cite the document the researcher began with. One way to find additional cases discussing a point of law of interest is to read the cases cited by a case already found. Once a court decision is published, the decision itself almost never changes, but subsequent cases can still have an effect on the law as stated in the case. Citators are a means of leading a researcher to newer cases that cite an earlier case. Originally Shepard's, the first legal citator system, provided law book owners with stickers that were pasted in the margins of case reporters to alert readers that newer cases cited the cases being read. Shepard soon had too much text to fit in the margins and began printing books and pamphlets that included the same citing references that had been included in the marginal stickers. If you work someplace where you need to use paper Shepards, there are instructions on how to use the set in the front of the books. Today, Shepard's is available electronically on Lexis and contains the same information that originally appeared in the margins or in the print Shepard's, but in an easier-to-read format with links to cited cases. Lexis includes a link to a summary of Shepard's content on the side, much like the Shepard stickers of the old reporter volumes. Clicking Shepardize this document takes us to Shepard's Citing Decisions. Citing Decisions provides a reference to any case that has ever cited the case being Shepardized. Results can be narrowed by analysis, which means whether the citing court said something positive or negative about the case, or whether it is merely cited in its decision. By court, by publication status, by how lengthy discussion of this case is, by the specific headnotes referred to, or by the date of the decision. We can also search within the citing cases for words, phrases, or a Boolean search statement. Results can also be sorted by court, analysis, discussion, or date. If there were cases that provided negative analysis, we would need to read those cases to see if that treatment would prevent our use of this case as valid precedent. There is also a Shepard section on appellate history. Because the 1845 case we started with doesn't have any appellate history, let's switch to a different case. This is a 2015 case from the Ninth Circuit, Cottonwood Environmental Center versus United States Forest Service, which has been cited in 197 decisions. But we came to this case to see its appellate history. But even before looking at that, we can see the caution icon in this case. Let's see why this case has a caution. We are taken to a case that distinguishes the holding in Cottonwood. Even though this is a mild negative treatment, I would suggest looking at this and the 5 other cases giving negative treatment to be sure none of this negativity is relevant to our use of this case. Seeing nothing that will affect our usage of this case, we can move on to view the history report. Appellate history on Shepard's is the chronological progression of decisions rendered in this lawsuit as it moved through the court system. These cases can be appeals or remands or just cases that are related in some way, like involving the same parties and events. Shepard starts with the history at a glance, which we can view graphically or as a timeline. Shepard's divides history into prior and subsequent to the case we began with. Subsequent appellate history can have a negative impact on the validity of a court's holding. That's why Shepard's let us know back when we were reviewing the case itself that there is no negative subsequent history. If there were any, it would be our duty as diligent researchers to read those negative cases to find out how they might affect our use of this case as precedent. There's a separate section that includes other citing sources. These can be court documents or primary or secondary sources, which could be useful in expanding our research. Westlaw's Citator KeyCite is accessed through the tabs at the top of a Westlaw document. The History tab provides information on other decisions arising out of this lawsuit or other related cases, both as a list and a graphic. Citing References includes all documents in Westlaw that refer to our case by citation. Having chosen to view the citing cases, we then have the option of filtering our results by jurisdiction, date, depth of treatment, headnote topics, treatment status, or reported status. We could also search within our results. One very handy feature on Westlaw is the Negative Treatment tab that brings the negative history and citing references together in one place. A conscientious researcher would definitely want to check every negative reference to see if it has an impact on the validity of the point of law the case is being used for. When we link to a case through KeyCite, our search term was the citation we were key citing, so clicking on the Search Terms link will take us to the section of the citing case that is discussing our case. This makes it very easy for us to see whether we agree with KeyCite's analysis of the case. Bloomberg's case citer is called bcite. B is accessible through the bcite analysis icon on the right of the case. It first provides a summary of the analysis and links to the various parts of bcite. Direct history can be filtered as prior or subsequent or by court date. Case analysis can be filtered by how a citing case treats our case, the status of the citing case, whether it has had positive, negative, or neutral analysis by its citing cases, citation frequency, court, judge, and date. Additional citing materials can be found under Citing Documents and can be filtered by content type, practice area, or date.